right, good morning, karibu sana. This is a TV47 breakfast. It's the 6th of May, the very first Thursday of this month. Karibu sana, tukupashe yanayojiri. Wasemanga aje kwa Kiswahili? Matukio na yanayotukia.
Yes, matukio na sijui. Wacha tusiwaharibie.
Karibu sana, my name is Freddy Ndimuli.
My name is Annie Odida, and we'll be bringing you up to speed with everything that is happening in the country and of course globally as well. Kama kawaida, wacha niwaanzishie. It's Children's Mental Health Awareness Day today. Sasa angalia mental health ya watoto. Sawa? Ni muhimu sana. It's also World Password Day. Very interesting. Peana password yako leo. It's World Password Day.
Mbona wapeane password? Mwarusha nje. Wapeane password.
Mtu aangalie kitu anataka kuangalia hapo. Kama unafanya mambo ambayo haifai, you give them your... Lakini anyway, they say that protect your privacy and self by taking some time to update your passwords.
Yes, usiweke tu
birthday. Ati usiweke?
Birthdays.
Avoid pet or family names, important dates and other identifying information. Is kama birthdays. Mshapatiwa tip ya World Password Day. And it's also International Paste Up Day. This is interesting. Tuangalie inasema vipi. International Paste Up Day celebrates the art of assembling printed materials by hand before digital tools. Paste Up artists meticulously cut and arrange text and images on boards. You can take a look at that if it's something that interests you. It's also World Paste Day. It's Make a Book Day. Yani vitu mingi zina happen in the month of May. Tangu tuanze May, tukiangalia things that are happening globally, it's a lot.
It's a very busy month.
It's a very, very, very busy month. It's also Bladder Cancer Awareness Day. That is also interesting. And World Passkey Day. So that's all that is happening in your world.
Meanwhile, in sports, the stage is now set for a mouth-watering UEFA Champions League final between the great Arsenal and now Paris Saint-Germain on 30th of May at the Pushkas Stadium in Budapest, Hungary. Of course, the great Arsenal were the first to qualify. I love PSG jana wakafanyia Bayern Munich ile kitu. Sasa watu walikuwa wanasema, oh, Arsenal will meet Bayern. We've beaten Bayern before.
Yeah.
No. Me, I'm so sure and confident that Arsenal fans were really eager to meet up with PSG.
Yes.
Ndio isisemekane, oh, it was an easy game. Wakuje tuwafanyie vile tuwafanyia waende nyumbani.
30th May?
30th of May.
Kabisa. Yeah. Director ni kama ni wa Arsenal pia.
Huyo tunajaribu kuona kama ni wa
ama ni wa Manchester United.
Manchester United. People still talk about those teams. Anyway.
Amesema ana support Arsenal, so that's when we...
Today we're talking about the finance bill 2026.
Yes.
I remember that 5% tax on mitumba. Now there's also a 25% tax on mobile phones.
Yes.
It's in the dailies. So we're asking people, what do you think about this change? 5% tax on mitumba, 25% tax on mobile phones. Unajua watu wameleta masimu mingi sana huko.
Yes.
Niliona wale watu wa Burukanga siku hizo wana dance wakiuza simu. 25% tax. That is what we'll be talking about.
So that means phones will go up.
Of course it will go up. Even mitumba will, the price of mitumba.
Yeah, mitumba na I support. Yeah, mitumba, that one I support.
Nilikwambia bei itakuja kwa mnunuzi wa kawaida.
At least let us all pay tax.
Yes. But there's so many
lipa ushuru jitegemee.
And I love that because now the promise was that they were going to widen the tax base.
Yes.
So inamaanisha watu wa mitumba wenyewe, they were not paying taxes. And they're the ones who actually proposed, wakasema they just want one unified tax.
Yes.
So amesemekana tutasumbuana na nyinyi.
Yeah.
Ikifika tu point of entry hivi, 5% ukiingia huko uza vile unataka.
Yes. Wewe fanya biashara yako tutakusumbua. I think that's a really good thing. I feel like we should not be rejecting everything.
Yes. No, we're not talking about rejecting.
No, maybe online, you know, people, kwanza, you know, I had guests on Tuesday talking about mitumba business, and all of them were against that 5% tax.
Because they don't want to pay tax.
They don't want to pay tax.
Watu walipe, kulipa ushuru ni kujitegemea.
Yes.
So that is one of the big discussions. Of course, even on the Start today, they're talking about highlights of the 4.8 trillion shilling budget. But how will this be funded? That's in the Finance Bill 2026, and that's where we have these proposals. But what do you think about those two particular proposals? 5% tax on mitumba and 25% tax on mobile phones. This is where the rubber meets the road.
Yeah.
Because mobile phones na mitumba, hapo ndio kila mtu yuko. Hata kama wewe ni Gen Z ama wewe ni nani, hakuna kuhepa.
Ama wewe ni mdosi, wewe uko pale chini.
Hakuna kuhepa. Right. So get interacting with us. Our social media pages, TV47 Kenya on Facebook, YouTube where we're streaming live, and on Instagram. On X, it's at TV47 Digital. Use the hashtag TV47 Breakfast, hashtag Story ni Yetu.
Yes.
You can tag us as well. My handle on X is at Freddy Ndimuli.
My handle is at Annie_Odida. Let's take a look at the state of the weather. All right, let's see how the weather's looking this morning across the country. And we start off in Kisumu, kule kwetu. It's likely to rain today. This morning is 19 degrees, highs of 28 degrees. Nairobi wanasema pia kuna uwezekano wa kunyesha. Did it rain yesterday?
Oh yes, somewhere in Kiambu.
Yeah.
It rained heavily for about 15 minutes.
Kwangu akukufika. But anyway, Nairobi wanasema kutanyesha leo. This morning is 17 degrees, highs of 26 degrees. It's a very hot morning. Tangu jana kuna joto ingine wazimu. Garissa is a partly sunny day today. It's also hot in Garissa. This morning is 26 degrees, highs of 35 degrees expected in Garissa today. That's as far as Kisumu, Nairobi and Garissa are concerned. Nakuru, there will be thunderstorms in Nakuru today. This morning is 14 degrees, highs of 24 degrees expected today. Eldoret is also going to rain. Kama Nakuru too, it's 14 degrees this morning, highs of 24 degrees expected in Eldoret. And finally, Mombasa, it will rain as well with thunderstorms. This morning, it's 26 degrees and highs of 30 degrees expected today. And that's the state of the weather.
Joto kila mahali. Let's take now a look at the quote of the day.
Your circumstances are not what define you. The choices and decisions you make today are what will ultimately shape your future and determine the person you evolve into.
All right, now let's come back and take a look at the local and regional dailies in depth.
Inside Ruto's 4.8 trillion shilling 2027 election budget. They're calling it the election budget, actually, because this is the final year.
Yeah.
He'll get a full year to implement this. Next year, after the budget, it will be 2-3 months, actually a month to the elections.
Yes.
So this is what they're calling the election budget. Every allocation carries both a fiscal cost and calculated political outcome. Remember, there's a discussion about the finance bill, which is how this budget will be funded. But now, highlights of the proposed 2026-2027 estimates, which are already before the National Assembly. Agriculture, for fertilizer subsidy, 18 billion shillings. Seed subsidy, 2 billion. Sugar reforms, coffee debt waiver. Kuna ile grassroots network. Village elders stipend.
Hiyo ni gani?
Kuna ile pesa inapangwa
wazee. Yeah. So wanataka kuongeza?
Hiyo iko hapo. Hawajaongeza, ile wameallocate 3.96 billion.
Wow.
Wanapeana 3,000 shillings per elder. Unajua ule mzee tu wako nyumbani wafanye kazi anakaa tu.
Yes.
Akipata 1,300 unajua ni pesa mingi sana.
Basi imekwanga.
Ndio, lakini now we're just saying how much they've allocated to it.
Oh.
We're not saying the changes they've made. Hii tu ni how much have they allocated it this year. For jobs and education, teachers confirmations 5 billion, meaning that more teachers will be employed. Intern teachers is 8.1 billion shillings, meaning that they could actually consider employing on full-time basis this intern teachers. Wamezusha sana. University scholarships, and this is a big one, 30 billion.
Wow.
HELB, 56 billion. So in matters of education, fine. You see the challenge is fine. Unaweza ongea hiyo alafu una hiyo pesa. Hence the finance bill.
Yeah.
Ndio wanakota hii pesa through the finance bill alafu wanakuja wana implement hii budget. Yeah, remember, this is the biggest budget in Kenya's history, 4.8 trillion shillings. And you see, like for example, last year's budget was about 4.3 trillion shillings.
Yes.
But by the time the year is coming to an end, because of supplementary budgets and other changes in budgetary allocations here and there, it went up to 4.7 trillion.
Yeah.
So if at all this year's estimate is 4.8 trillion, believe you me, by the time we get to the next budget or to the end of the financial year, we'll have crossed the 5 trillion shilling mark.
Kabisa.
Yeah. So
the highest in the region, actually.
This one, if you compare it to, lakini tulisema tusiongee vibaya.
Ongea kweli,
hawatafika.
Sitishwe.
Hata wakiandika watatoa wapi hiyo pesa.
Yes. So do you think that we will go with 4.8 trillion ama itarudi chini?
It is 4.8 trillion, this one. Even if, and you see by now, they've done all the discussions and they're finalizing on the public participation.
Yes.
So by next month is just approving or rubber stamping this thing. So it's 4.8 trillion. I don't see it going up now, but believe you me, ile tumezoea, kutakuwa na supplementary budget mahali, alafu itafika 5 trillion shillings.
So you don't see it going up, lakini do you see it going down?
I see it going up.
Not down?
No, not
you see
by next month.
Trillion? Yes, by next month.
I don't think it can even go down by 100 billion shillings. So it will just remain
4.7 Apple.
4.8, 4.79 trillion maybe.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. All right. So they've allocated money for landless settlement in the coast. Youth and Women Nyota Fund, iko pale 4.7. Women Enterprise Fund. You remember that fund?
Yes.
410 million shillings. Interestingly, sioni hapa Hustler Fund kama inapewa pesa. Health and Social, UHC workers. Remember kuna wale volunteers. Wale walikuwa nazunguka. They've been allocated about 8.9 billion shillings. Community health promoters, those are the ones I'm talking about. 3.2 billion. Now this is from the National Treasury. Start familiarizing yourself with the discussions around budget, because usually around this time, that should be the discussion.
Kabisa.
Finance bill, budget, tunaenda upande gani. Gen Z walipiga kelele sana 2024.
Yeah.
Do you think that they're reading these estimates now?
I don't think so.
Are they even concerned?
I really don't think so. Sababu that noise that we were seeing in 2024 and also 2025 haikuwa imetulia kama sahi. But now I don't even think they know that public's participation is ongoing in the month of May.
Mobile phones, mitumba, this will hit you directly, whether you like it or not. What is your voice on it? Ama itakuja saa ile tunaenda kumaliza hii discussion na unaanza kukasirika.
Yes.
Hasira unatoa wapi? Kama huwezi discuss hiyo kitu sahi, ukome kabisa.
Kabisa. Time inaisha.
So this is the Star, and that's the main story. I don't think we should even focus on anything else hapa. Naona tu ni siasa hapa na pale. On the back page, police on target, matters local football. Na ile siasa FKF bado inaendelea. And that's the Star.
All right.
Fresh, independent, different.
Sawa, tuangalie the Standard. Sulfur concerns. They call it pollution, and Kenya's decision to allow higher sulfur fuel may ease shortages, but it comes with a quiet everyday cost to public health. Now, as this fuel burns, it releases more toxic fumes into the air, especially in crowded towns and cities. With every breath, people are exposed to pollutants linked to asthma, chest infections, and other breathing problems. So anasema hii kama gari ya mtu inakupita, unajua zile gari zinatoa moshi. So if they use fuel that has sulfur in it, wakipita, unaweza patwa na asthma. Yeah. They also say that over time, constant exposure can strain the lungs and worsen overall health. The same sulfur that pollutes the air also eats into engines, leading to more frequent breakdowns and higher repair costs. And while the quick fix policy may keep vehicles moving, it risks leaving many Kenyans both sicker and more vulnerable. This story has been captured on page 4 and 6. And yesterday, the two prominent guys, the Energy CS and the Trade CS, appeared before, was it Senate? Appeared before Senate yesterday to respond to the sulfur concerns and all. And there's a professor that has been quoted here, a University of Nairobi professor, that from a health perspective, this is risky. The Economic Survey 2026 shows that respiratory diseases are among the leading health problems in the country. Introducing fuel with higher sulfur content only worsens air pollution. Even without sulfur concerns, our air quality has not been ideal. Ni ukweli?
Kweli, tuache kuringa sana ati nini ijakuwa mzuri either way. But I do understand the kind of problem that we're facing as a country with the war in Iran.
Yeah.
The problem is we are looking for a quick fix. How should we get this oil? So because getting properly refined oil is proving a bit difficult, then we are opting for cheaper options or other options that may enable us at least sustain the fuel supply. Nakumbuka yesterday we were talking about a fuel shortage.
Yeah.
Kuna petrol stations zimeanza kuhold fuel akingojea next week April ifanye ile kitu. But either way we need a fuel.
Yeah.
We just hope that this will be a short-term fix and moving on. Ile refinery ya Tanga inafaa ikuje tukue tuna refine from this end so that we get whatever quality we want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we do from Tanga. Lakini ile yetu ya Changamwe kuliendaje?
Hiyo tulifunga. Refinery ya Changamwe ilifungwa kitambo.
Lakini sasa ya Tanga, rais wa kule Tanga Tanzania hata hajui kitu kama hii ina exist.
No, Museveni na Ruto na Ali Dangote hao wanajua.
Sasa wanataka kuinvade anyway.
They're not invading, but I guess if we have a refinery closer to us, even if we import crude oil. We can refine here and get the different levels of refined fuel that we want, and avoid such kind of problems.
Right. That's the only story given prominence on the front page. Page 2, Ruto accused of ignoring Kenyan safety for the sake of trade deals. Now, right defenders see betrayal for failure by President to side with Kenyans against Suluhu. Tanzanian authorities have killed, abducted and tortured Kenyans. Wanazungumzia ile story ya mkwaju. Akikuja piga mikwaju na huko kwako pia wapige mikwaju. I feel like tunatarajia the June 25th anniversary of the protests. Lakini sasa things like this zikiendelea, should we anticipate state violence come June 25th?
Exactly. President William Ruto has steered clear of that debate. Amenyamaza.
Ataki mama.
Hata asemi. Mama ndo alisema.
Yes, yeye.
Rais Ruto hajasema kitu.
It is very wise. Manake anajua, I feel like he knows the type of people he's dealing with. Like jana tulikuwa tunapata views, Kenyans are saying, you know, Kenya is not Tanzania. So,
but I'm more concerned about the quality of discussions this Gen Zs are having.
Yeah.
In 2024, it was a very nice, very valid discussion. They said, Apana, you can't do this through the finance bill. You can't increase taxation. But as we go along, what are we talking about now? What are the young Kenyans saying? Because I feel their voices are disappearing here and there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, tough times ahead. 4.8 trillion. Anyway, we should be having these conversations. On page 3, they talk about new faces join judiciary after JSC's historic peaks. They were sworn in, was it Tuesday? Tuesday, yeah. All right, we look at other stories. Wave of killings fuels femicide emergency calls. That's a story on page 7 of this newspaper. Gachagwa's health. Doctor reveals Ruto's call. That the former DP was rushed to hospital when he was required to take the witness stand during his impeachment proceedings. And Dr. Gikonyo indicates that the president had a personal follow-up on Gachagwa's health. Wow. That one is on page 9. Very interesting read. On the back page, ni kama imekufurahisha sana.
Yeah, back page. Unajua ile celebration ya Arsenal, it was very interesting.
Yeah.
You see, many people, and I've seen many pundits, football pundits, criticizing Arsenal for celebrating their win against Atletico.
Komeni kabisa.
Wasema ati wali over-celebrate. Like, you know, this is the first time in 20 years that Arsenal has reached the finals of the UEFA Champions League. That is something to celebrate. Whether or not they actually get to win, just reaching the finals, it is something to celebrate.
It's big.
If you've not done something for over 20 years, then you finally get to do it through struggle.
Celebrate.
Celebrate.
Yeah.
By the way, as an Arsenal fan, celebrate. Usiambiwa ati usi celebrate. Mbona tunafungiwa tunakaziwa.
Manake if we kama tungefika kule wangetuchekelea sana. They would have celebrated our loss.
They were waiting to celebrate.
Yeah.
Sasa hivi wameona hakupata Arsenal on cusp of history after reaching Champions League final. 30th. Sio mbali sana, 30th of this month. In fact, we should have a countdown. Yes. Because today is 6th, so exactly 24 days.
Day 7th.
It's 6th. Oh, naitupeleka hapo. Oh, ni 7.
Leo najua date.
So exactly 23 days. 23 days.
Yeah.
To the UEFA Champions League final. Itakuwa Budapest, Hungary. Na maybe by then tutakuwa tushabeba EPL. Nakwambia ile.
The drinks of the Lord.
Sijui mtatuambia nini. Sijui mtatembelea wapi.
That's the Standard this morning.
That's the Standard. Let's take a look at the Daily Nation. The Daily Nation, the main story is about affordable housing bosses to earn 86 billion shillings profit. Of course, there was business to be done. Misi leo shida iko wapi. So amesema summary of expenditure and profit by contractors. Panga hapo hesabu ingine imekuwa ngumu, lakini aggregate net margin profit 85.7 billion. Pesa mzuri. It's a windfall, they call it. The first batch of contractors under the affordable housing program will pocket 85.7 billion shillings in profit. This is a report commissioned by the government shows. This translates to a profit margin of 30%, much higher than between 2 and 15%, modest rates recommended by reputable global firms for taxpayer-funded projects. Wataunda almost a third in profits.
Wow, that's big money.
That is, you could say, almost immoral. Because these are projects that are funded by the taxpayer.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the construction boom has opened a new high-performing revenue stream for the taxman, according to the state report. Yes, of course, the taxman will get money. Yeah. Even kama watu watalipa tax, bado kuna ile contribution wewe una make.
Yeah.
So KRA inavuna either way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pale juu, Ruto's phone call to Gachagwa's doctor. Hiyo kitu imeleta shida sana, but president alipiga simu.
Yes, na tayari mshako sana.
Si unapiga tu ujue ni ukweli.
Kama amekufa
ama
anaenda maindi.
Lakini unajua unataka tukujua, okay fine, ni ukweli ameenda hospitali.
Yeah.
What is the situation?
I think everyone will do that.
Either way, even the impeachment process, it poses a security concern.
Yes.
So even as a member of the National Security Council, it's upon him to know what exactly
kabisa.
So si ati alipiga kupeana pole.
Yes.
Alipiga kujua
kunaendaje.
Biting fuel shortage hits several towns. That's another story there on the inside pages. Kuna Gen Z hapa, because we've been saying that Gen Z hawashughuliki na hizi mambo. Kuna Gen Z amebuild bots to decode policy documents. So you're making it easier for the others to actually access and review what's happening in policy documents. I wish this could be done on the budget and the finance bill, so that people can break it down and consume it. Unajua ile wakati ya 2024, they were even translating into vernacular sections of the finance bill and sections of the budget. I wish they could continue with that now to ensure that everyone can access these discussions.
Mwende is actually doing great things.
That's a great
I know her in person.
Yeah.
So.
That's Mwende. She's
Mugambi.
Zizi Africa founder Mwende Mugambi. That story on page 2. Very inspiring. Fuel shortage inaendelea huko. Hospitals hakuna dawa. Hiyo mambo ya kawaida. Twende huko nyuma. Africa's fastest man, Omanyala, looks to Europe for inspiration. Informed Kenyan record holder hoping to replicate his fine 2023 form in several Diamond League meetings. Very interesting photo of this jamaa hapa. On the back page of the Daily Nation. Yes, hata mambo ya Champions League iko, lakini haijawekwa huko nyuma. Imewekwa huko ndani, wasema incredible night ya nani? The great Arsenal.
Kabisa.
Na hiyo mtaisikia. Hii mwezi ni yetu.
Ama ndo maana Inonda kujikazi.
No, hata Manu Inonda amesema aende leave.
Taifa Leo sasa, simu ya Ruto kuhusu Gachagua. That's the main story in the front page of Taifa Leo this morning. Wanasema kwamba Rais Ruto alipiga simu kwa daktari mtaalamu wa moyo aliyekuwa akimhudumia aliyekuwa wakati huo naibu wa rais Rigathi Gachagua siku aliyolazwa hospitalini. Stakabadhi za koti zimefichua zikimvuta rais katika matukio ya siku ambayo Rigathi alivuliwa madaraka. Ni habari katika ukurasa wa pili. Ushahidi uliowasilishwa kotini waonyesha rais aliwasiliana na daktari wa Rigathi akitaka kujua hali yake. Tumezungumzia habari hiyo na vidokezo zaidi. Mpango wa kukata kotu kucha waiva. Juhudi za kuanzisha muungano mbadala wa wafanyikazi zimeanza kupata nguvu nchini. Sasa wafanyikazi hataki kotu. Ni kama. That story is on page 2. Mabaharia wa Kenya na Tanzania kuvuna. Hii ni baada ya Kenya na Tanzania kutia saini MOU kuhusu utambuzi wa vyeti vya baharini. Vilevile upinzani wapasuka Nigeria. Vinara wakuu Peter Obi na Rabiu Kwankwaso wajiondoa kwenye muungano mkubwa wa upinzani. On the top strip of Taifa Leo, ushuru mpya wa mitumba na simu njiani. Yes, this will be forming basis of conversations on the state of the nation, right?
Yes, indeed.
Maelfu ya wauzaji wanaotegemea biashara za mitumba kuathirika. Na vile hiyo habari ya Arsenali pale. Arsenal ni sherehe tu baada ya kufuzu. Historia ya bisha baada ya timu hiyo kuingia fainali ya UEFA kwa mara ya pili.
Arsenal ni sherehe tu. Hiyo mtaisikia hii mwezi wote.
Kabisa.
All right. People Daily, matters fuel crisis, sema 2027 tensions squeeze Kenya's industries. How latest energy scarcity and political heat are getting the business class jittery as country walks into election year. Okay, at least there's some relief. The US had the Secretary of Defense, Secretary of State, akisema hiyo vita walikuwa naita epic fury, ni kama wamemaliza. So kwa hivyo ni kama wanataka kusema Strait of Hormuz itafunguliwa. Unajua inafunguliwa asubuhi, inafungwa lunch time. Inafunguliwa tena jioni, inafungwa usiku. So wamesema hiyo epic fury ni kama imeisha. Maybe watafungua hiyo Strait of Hormuz, shida yote ya mafuta iishe, because if you mix a fuel crisis with campaigns for elections, itakuwa ngumu sana.
Bad things.
That's a story on the front page of the People Daily. Gazeti gani tumebakisha? Business
Daily, right. All right.
Just the two top stories so that we can take a look at the regional ones.
All right, Muho Kenyatta reveals 20 billion shillings NCBA ownership, and this story has been captured on page 2 extensively. Taxpayers says Treasury eyes 201 billion shillings in new budget. Again, hiyo ndio itakuwa inazungumziwa leo in the State of the Nation, and that's business daily.
All right, let's cross over to Uganda, and today we only have one paper there, Daily Monitor. Nakumbuka ile jamaa waliiba laptops za Bank of Uganda. Ni kama tu muingie Central Bank of Kenya muibe laptops. The audacity. So Bank of Uganda raid, 5 police officers arrested. Kumbe ilikuwa ni askari police.
Wow.
A security official at the Bank of Uganda revealed that the stolen laptops contained commercial data, including sales transactions and consumer insights. The laptops and mobile phones belonging to the 5 officers are now being combed for forensic analysis. Au washikwe wawefunzo kwa wengine kama wao. Usijaribu kwenda Central Bank kuiba laptop. Kwani wewe ni nani? Tukivuka boda tuende Tanzania, tuangazie gazeti la Mwananchi. Kitanzi cha mafuta, it's the same discussion they're having across. Now by the way, I think it's getting to a point where we cannot avoid discussing fuel. In Kenya it's becoming a crisis, in Tanzania it's a main story as well. Bei ya mafuta yazidi kung'ata, wananchi walia maumivu, usafiri wa umma, mabasi ya shule ni kilio. Wenye magari wabuni mbinu mpya. Wanabuni mbinu mpya gani? Ama ni ile ya gesi pengine. Kiasi cha ongezeko la fedha katika kila lita ya petroli kule ni shilingi 295. Usishtuke sana, hizi ni pesa za Tanzania. On the Citizen, and I can't find the Citizen, nafikiri hiyo sando walificha. The Citizen, how Tanzanians are coping amid galloping fuel prices. It is the same concern across board. Pale saa hii imefika 4,000. 3,820 a liter of diesel, 4,115 for a liter of petrol. Nalia imefika 197 hapa. 4,000 bila shilingi 40,000 huwezi kuwa na lita 10. Hata shilingi 40,000 hazikupi lita 10 ya mafuta Tanzania.
Lakini sasa ni pesa ngapi?
Uko na 40,000 kwa mfuko na huwezi pata 10 liters.
Hii 40,000 ni Kenyan shillings ama Tanzania shillings?
Unaibeba aje 40,000 huko? Ni noti ngapi unabeba? 41,000. Lakini mbona tunazoea kuchekelea jirani?
Hakuna, lakini
tuliambiwa tuache.
Pesa yetu ukipeleka kule Tanzania we ni mdosi.
Sisi ni kama tu rais wetu. Unachekelea jirani alafu unaenda kumbembeleza huko kwao. Unaambia I did not mean that. Ni ile tu banter.
Like father like sons and daughters.
All right, let's come back home and take a look at the cartoons today. The cartoon on the Daily Nation. Kuna jamaa amepita hapa, amefungilia kamba kwenye mlima na anajaribu kupeleka wheelbarrow ya machungwa. Lakini kuna mwingine ameshuka kwa hiyo wheelbarrow, amesema unlike them I'm in but really out. Who is he comparing himself to? Ni watu wa ODM ambao wako hata hawaijulikani kama wako ndani ama wako Linda Mwananchi. Bado wana insist, Sifuna bado wana insist kwa uwezo wa Mungu na kwa uwezo wa Mungu na upendo wa Mungu. Mimi bado ni katibu mkuu wa ODM. So is he in ODM or out? Kang'ata at least amesema, na Kang'ata hapo Karakacha, the guy in the green t-shirt. Wewe ndo anasema mimi by the way mimi niko ndani sahi, lakini next year mimi naambia ukweli sitakuwa.
Kang'ata has made it. This is the first time I'm seeing Kang'ata and the most caricatures.
By the way, he looks very brave akisema hivyo.
So tumalize za Kang'ata.
Kang'ata ingine.
The one and the star pia Kang'ata. Kang'ata kicks off this season's political migration, lakini amekuwa painted as farasi.
Wildebeest. Unajua ile wildebeest.
Wildebeest. And then the crocodiles, they're waiting for him.
Anawaruka kuwaruka.
No,
it's a season of politics. This is something we should also be discussing because I think tumefika mahali we're no longer sure who's where when. Jamaa ako huku na anasema kama huyu amesema yako huku lakini hatakuwa. Mwingine anasema ni Secretary General wa ODM lakini hayuko. So tuko wapi? Season of political migration.
That's the star.
On the Standard, still matters politics. Kuna jamaa anajaribu kuvalishwa jezi ya UDA. Ni wale affiliate parties wa Kenya Kwanza. Unajua hata hii ODM UDA coalition is about UDA and ODM. Wale wengine affiliate Kenya Kwanza parties hata wazungumziwi. So wanaambiwa for you to be part of this discussion, you have to come under the ambit of UDA. Ndio jamaa anapewa hapo jazz ya UDA. Aivae ndio ili aweze kusema hata ni part of coalition. Usipovaa unarudi nyumbani bila kitu.
Finally, stano steak leo. Hii ni machungwa gani? Is this an apple? Is this machungwa? What is this?
Whatever it is, it could be even a potato like it's rotten inside.
Could be anything. Imeoza, lakini kitu imeoza hapo ndani ni Shana Affordable Houses. Lakini the cameras here, Kenyans are pleading. Silent, please. We are shooting an award-winning movie. Oh, it's not even Kenyans, it's the government.
Yes.
We're shooting an award-winning movie.
Yes.
Wanasema 40 million cash prize.
The
That
president
thing,
promised
that
if you actually come up with a film on SHA or affordable houses, you will get you stand to
40
get 40 million shilling cash prize.
Na imeoza.
Hata kama mnashoot kuna mambo mingi inafichwa hapa nyuma.
Hiyo ni stano steak.
Hiyo ni katuni nimesema, sio mimi, si mnaona hapo. Sio mimi hata sijui kuchora. All right, so those are some of the big discussions. Of course, the budget making process, some of those proposals in the finance bill, and of course, season of political migration, as according to the cartoons. So, sahi tunaangalia weather ama tunaangalia traffic?
Director, Kanach.
Let's take a look at the traffic situation on major highways within the city. All right, and we can already see that one there. Pangani interchange already building up, with that stretching as far back as the Utalii Drift, Karibu National Youth Service, heading towards town, of course. Further north along Thika Road, there's a problem from Kahawa all the way to Kasarani. A long stretch of red. Inaanzia Kahawa ndani, inapita Githurai hadi Kasarani. Hapo utaumia kiasi. The other major tributaries into town, I can see Jogoo ile yake kawaida tu pale Makadara, all the way to Likoni Road Junction, and after that a bit of slowdown at Shauri Moyo, but after that it's smooth all the way into town. A bit of traffic pale town kawaida, Haile Selassie Avenue, Landis Road roundabout, but nothing to worry about. Ile ingine inakuanga na shida sana ni ile Eastern Bypass. Eastern Bypass kama kawaida, uko kwa kina our cameraman is called
Moms.
Anaitwa Moms. Uko kwao. Kuna shida ya traffic. Ukianzia Utawala hivi cross mpaka KQ mpaka City Cabanas. Au nafikiri no wonder they live close to the airport. Wanahitaji ndege. Ya kukuja huku town.
Choppers kila mtu na.
Chopper kila mtu akwe na yake ama waanzishe Uber chopper. Mombasa Road is looking green all the way into the city center. From the other side of town, that's Wayaki way into the CBD, is looking green. These other roads, Ngong Road at the junction, pale kuna matana, kuna barabara inajengwa, so a bit of a slowdown there, but after that it's smooth all the way into town. So that's a traffic situation this Thursday morning.
All right, leo kuna kwanga na health Thursday, lakini ni kama today we are changing things. We'll be talking about relationships also today, that how to lead in a relationship without being controlling. How to lead in a relationship without controlling.
Who's the leader kwanza?
Who is the leader? These are the questions that we will be
No, you know, we know what it means.
No, the leader obviously is the man.
Is the man. Now without being controlling. Siku hizi unajaribu kusema tu si unieke chakula, alafu anasema you're controlling me.
No, change that woman. Guys, if your person is that way, change them. We'll also be having a conversation about tech before we cross over to Brenda Muthoni. We'll be talking about leveraging technology to scale opportunity and economic growth. So Leo Thursday, we're not talking about matters health and state of the nation. All right,
State of the Nation will be having Professor Frodo Gola, who's an expert in economic matters and governance. Anapenda kudiscuss sana mambo ya budget. Mwalimu Wilson Sosion also will be with us. He makes a comeback after a break. Last week hakuweza kuja, alikuwa ameenda shughuli hapa na pale. He'll be here. And alongside Dismas Mokua, who's a political risk analyst. Unajua isi ile political analyst, political risk analyst.
Yes.
So sahi ukichoma through the budget, what kind of risk do you pose ahead of the elections?
Very nice.
Right. Ile discussion tulikuwa nimesema leo ni, what do you think about the proposal in the finance bill for that 5% tax on mitumba and the 25% tax on mobile phones? That's contained in the finance bill that was tabled before Parliament on 30th of April. This is what we want to gauge sentiments on the streets on, and that's Muthoni Brenda, my colleague. Muthoni, a very good morning. Uko wapi leo, and what are people saying about these plans for new taxation?
A very good morning, Fred Indimuli and Ann Odida. We are coming to you live from the heart of the city. And yesterday, Kenyans really seemed to enjoy the conversation that we had here with Bunge la Mwananchi ambassador. And today in the morning, we said, if Kenyans loved it, then why don't we give them a double dose? Well, yes, the financial budget for the 2025-2026 year is out. And today, our question of the day is, what do Kenyans think about the proposed new 5% taxation on mtumba clothes and the proposed 25% on mobile phones? This is Bunge la Mwananchi ambassador. Oh, sorry. Can I interrupt, tafadhali? Yes. Oh, thank you. This is Bunge la Mwananchi ambassador, and this is where Nairobi converges. Even nimeambiwa na Mr. Speaker. This is Mr. Timothy. He is the national speaker here at Bunge la Mwananchi. Habari yako, good morning.
Good morning too.
Yeah. Jana unaniambia unapatana na watu wanakuambia tulikuwa na TV47.
Jana tulikuwa live na watu wengi walifurahia. Yeah.
All right. So the 2025-2026 financial budget imetokea. And one of the things yenye budget inasema ni kwamba watu wa mtumba watakuwa wanalipa 25%. Ni ile ya pay before you sell. What is your opinion on that?
My opinion on that one will be a very bad budget for common mwananchi because kama Kenya unajua sisi tunategemea mitumba. A large population of us tunavaa mitumba, hata sasa hivi nimevaa ni mtumba. Kwa hivyo it will hit hard on us, and at least the government should see the way to balance that percentage. At least we bring to 5. Yeah, because kama tungekuwa with another option ya kwamba tayari tunatoa nguo zetu zile ambazo zitatosha, ingekuwa ni sawa local, lakini already they are putting so much percentage on taxation ya mitumba na sisi tunategemea hiyo. Kwa hivyo it will have a negative impact to mwananchi obviously.
All right.
Yeah.
Nifanyie tu kama jana. Kindly pick for me a speaker. Yes.
A speaker, I'll start from here just to first.
So it's 5% on mtumba and 25% on mobile phones.
On mobile phones you can bring it even at 5 also too. Because a lot of us also we use mobile phones. And already the economy is already strained. And so if you put more 25%.
Yeah, 25% on mobile phones.
That will be so much. So it will still have just a negative impact kwa mwananchi.
Na 5% kwa mtumba iko sawa?
5% iko kwa fadhali kidogo. Yeah.
All right, sawa. Kindly pick for me another speaker. All right, good morning.
Sijambo.
Kenyans yesterday walisema that uko na very diverse knowledge on the constitution. So I want to hear your opinion on the proposed taxation on mtumba and mobile phones. So the National Treasury is proposing a 5% increase on mtumba and 25% on mobile phones. What is your opinion?
Hamjambo. Jambo la kwanza, serikali yenyewe, serikali ya Kenya Kwanza ilieleza Wakenya kwamba walipochukua hatamu za uongozi wataimarisha uchumi wa taifa la Kenya na kuhakikisha kwamba wanabuni nafasi za kazi. Kwa hivyo 5% ya ushuru ambayo inaongezwa katika bidhaa za mtumba ambazo zinatoka nje, jambo la kwanza, hiyo sio njia ya kubuni kazi, kwa sababu unapoongeza ushuru wale ambao wanafanya biashara watakuwa na ugumu wa kuleta hizo bidhaa. Kwa hiyo utapata kwamba watu wengi ambao wanafanya biashara ya mitumba hawataweza. Na pia tukumbuke kwamba serikali yenyewe hivi majuzi walitueleza kwamba wanataka kuboresha mazingira ambamo wale ambao wanafanya sana wengi wa kazi za mitumba kule Kigomba wakawabomolea mahali ambapo walikuwa wanafanyia kazi. Kwa hivyo utapata kwamba wafanyakazi tayari kwa sasa wako na matatizo mengi. Unapoongeza ushuru wa 5% kwa mitumba, itakuwa ni vigumu kwao kuleta bidhaa kwa urahisi. Na inapokuwa vigumu kwao, tumepoteza nafasi za kazi kwa sababu wao wameajiri watu wengi wa kazi. Na kwa sababu Wakenya hawana uwezo wa kiuchumi wa kuweza kununua tuseme nguo na bidhaa zingine ambazo zinatengenezwa humu nchini, itakuwa ni vigumu. Kwa hivyo kupata zile nguo ambazo tunapata kwa bei rahisi itakuwa ni vigumu sana. Na tatizo la serikali yetu, tukiona wanajaribu kurusha ushuru kila mahali, unakumbuka mwaka jana bajeti yetu ilikuwa trilioni 3.5. Leo hii tunaambiwa kwamba makisio ilikuwa trilioni 4.5. Leo hii bajeti yetu inaelekea trilioni ngapi? Trilioni karibu 5, kwa sababu anasema 4.8 ni karibu trilioni ngapi? 5. Kwa hivyo unapata kwamba tukiangalia naksi ya budget or the budget deficit Tayari mwaka jana tulikuwa na nakisi ya bajeti ya shilingi trilioni 1.12. Kwa hivyo inamaanisha kwamba mwaka huu kuna uwezekano wa kuenda trilioni 1.5. Kumaanisha kwamba serikali itaenda kufanya nini? Kukopa pesa nyingi kule nje ili kufidia nini? Bajeti itosheleze. Lakini kama hawataweka ushuru na waache wafanyabiashara kama wale wa simu wanaongeza 25%, utaboresha mawasiliano katika taifa kivipi kama ushuru kwa simu umeimarika? Na kile ambacho tunajua kwamba zile simu ambazo zinatoka mataifa nje kule Uchina, Hungary na kadhalika zinakuja kwa bei ya chini. Ukiwezesha wale ambao ni wafanyabiashara ambao wamewekeza katika biashara hiyo, ushuru uwe chini, wataleta simu za kutosha, na watu wakiwa na simu nyingi, kama matumizi ya simu, tutaimarisha idadi kubwa ya Kenya kuwe na matumizi mengi ya simu. Kumbuka kwamba kuna ushuru ambao tunalipa kupitia kwa simu zenyewe. Kwa hivyo tutakuwa tumeboresha. Lakini tunapoongeza ushuru, tunapunguza idadi ya Wakenya ambao wanatumia nini? Simu. Kwa hivyo ushuru wa taifa utaenda chini. Rais atafute waziri ambaye anaelewa masuala ya kiuchumi. Na kama hana washauri, akuje tumpe ushauri wa bure. Ili aelewe anapochukua hatua, ajue ni hatua gani ambayo itaimarisha ukusanyaji wa ushuru, bali sio kudunisha na kuangamiza ukusanyaji wa ushuru. Swali lingine?
All right. Very well versed. Thank you so much. Naona hapa wewe you are a youth, eh? Will you feel affected government ikiamua to increase the 25% on mobile phones?
Of course, yes. Because ideally when things like tax is high, then definitely we will have to be affected. In either way, it has to. Yeah.
Please, camera person wangu anasema usonge mbele kidogo. Songa tu mbele pale kwa camera. Please repeat your answer again, Pole.
Yeah, definitely when the tax is in that aspect, it has to affect whichever way, either positively or negatively. So as a Gen Z or as a youth, definitely it will have to affect us.
Yes. Negatively or positively?
Fine, it will be, to my take, it will be negative. Because if I get to understand that rate, it will be high. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much. And maybe I can hear your opinions as well. Niambie, government inasema inataka increase 5% on mtumba clothes. Unaweza kuja hapo uniambie maoni yako. Thank you so much.
Kwa majina naitwa Sylvester Chalo. Government kama inaongeza ushuru kwa saidi ya mitumba, hiyo ni kuhatarisha maisha ya Wanakenya, kwa vile watu wengi hawata afford kununua nguo.
Watu wengi hawata afford kununua huko na Wakenya wengi wanavaa mitumba.
Ndio sasa wengi watu.
Lakini sasa unajua serikali inaweza sema ikiongeza ushuru wa mitumba itasaidia Kenyan owned businesses ku thrive.
Ndio ni ukweli, lakini mimi sikatai, lakini si rahisi.
Si rahisi? All right, asante sana. There you have it, Ann Odida and Fred Ndimuli. Those are the feelings of waheshimiwa here at Bunge la Mwananchi Ambassador. Back to you two in studio.
All right, thank you so much, Modoni Brenda, for that good job. And I do enjoy listening to Bunge la Mwananchi every morning because they have very varied opinions, and most of them are very well spoken. So that's the comments and opinions on the streets of Nairobi with regard to that question we are asking. What do you feel? What do you think about the proposed new taxation on mitumba at 5% and 25% on mobile phones as proposed in the Finance Bill 2026? This will be part of the discussions after the break on State of the Nation. Do stand by for that. Meanwhile, get interacting. Our social media pages, TV47 Kenya on Facebook, Instagram, and on YouTube, where we are streaming live, and on X, TV47 Digital, hashtag to use TV47 Breakfast, hashtag Story Yetu. You can tag me at Freddy Demoli.
At Ani_Dida. See you after the break.
Sundays at 8:30 p.m.
Good morning.
You have my rent?
Leo jioni kama tutakuwa tumelipa rent, nauza hii simu yako.
Hamna pesa. I need 3 G's to make my nails today.
Sasa hivi natuhusu aje?
Can I order now? Do you ship? Can I get blinking ones?
Mimi nilikuwa na trade. Nimewekelea kitele yangu. Kitele yangu na trade. Ikakunywa maji.
Oh my God. He left me. Nitumie ni live.
Uko nje kuna wifi.
Why? Hi-Fi? Wait, so what do we call this dish again?
I have no idea.
The cucumbers are there specifically for my beauty routine.
Tangulini kero umeka kwa beauty product.
Na ameenda.
Tunafaa tukuwe na logo yetu. Like, si ni brand already.
We won't entertain divas.
No. I'm not dealing with a man child.
Amazing. Nishapenda hii energy.
Sundays at 8:30 p.m. on TV47. Saturday at 8:30 p.m.
My father used to tell me that our hotel is the home for travelers. I guess I forgot that. Recently, it's been more of a mirror of my own ambition. We might fail. We will probably fail, but not for a lack of trying. So for the last time, and the first time, welcome to Connect In, the best experience in Eastern Central Africa and its environs.
Saturday at 8:30 p.m. on TV47. Wednesdays at 8:30 p.m.
This is a very serious place.
I see that. Surely. Hey, Nyumba.
This is the place.
Just for a few days.
Rule number 2.
Kwani Google inajua maisha yangu wewe?
That's my seat.
It's a chair.
It was hers.
You know here?
Yes.
You learned the rhythm.
This place is run by structure. Structure.
It is a system. Ni venye tu huu ni system haisikizi.
And what happens if something you haven't chosen enters your day?
Then you move it.
That's not always going to be possible here.
Then you are going to have a problem.
Noted.
What are you planning? To escape from a resort?
This is not a resort, my friend. This is a storage.
Wednesdays at 8:30 p.m. on TV47.
Nairobi, where the hustle never sleeps and neither do the scammers.
Link up, we are talking about something that's affecting all of us. We are talking trust.
We're diving into the campus life.
Stay fresh, stay safe.
Stay linked up.
My father used to tell me that our hotel is the home for travelers. I guess I forgot that. Recently, it's been more of a mirror of my own ambition. We might fail. We will probably fail, but not for a lack of trying. So for the last time, and the first time, welcome to Connect In, the best experience in Eastern Central Africa and its environs.
This is a very serious place.
I see that. Surely. Hey, Nyumba.
This is the place.
Just for a few days.
Rule number 2.
Kwani Google inajua maisha yangu wewe?
That's my seat.
It's a chair.
It was hers.
You know here?
Yes.
You learned the rhythm.
This place is run by structure. Structure.
It is a system. Ni venye tu huu ni system haisikizi.
And what happens if something you haven't chosen enters your day?
Then you move it.
That's not always going to be possible here.
Then you are going to have a problem.
Noted.
What are you planning? To escape from a resort?
This is not a resort, my friend. This is a storage.
You have to be very careful. Fake money can kill business.
Na leo mko rada yangu.
Small money, kapesa kadogo, big behavior.
I only have big notes.
Alikuwa anatafuta courage.
Yaani nafaje kutengeneza kachumbari na manyanya zinakaa hivi? Ona kiki ni kama kiwaru.
Hiyo inaitwa commitment to the lie. Amejicommit.
Ndio hiyo. Mpatie.
Unajua kama una mtu kitu hata tu salamu ya kawaida inakaa kama reminder.
Habari yako?
Sintalipa kesho.
Kesho gani when?
Si kesho as in kesho ya tomorrow.
Hiyo tena. Mzee ni budi nikamchoka.
Ni budi ni madeni.
Tuesdays at 8:30 p.m.
You have to be very careful. Fake money can kill.
It is exactly 10 minutes to 7. Good morning once again. This is TV47 Breakfast with me, Fred Indimuli. Time for us to take a look at the headlines this morning. We usually do a lot of politics, but today matters budget given prominence on most of our front pages. And we take a look at the Star, which has actually done a breakdown of this. They talk about inside Ruto's 4.8 trillion shilling 2027 election budget, and they highlight some of the proposed 2026-2027 estimates, from agriculture to youth and women to jobs and education, as well as health and social. You can grab yourself a copy of this paper and read more. Our biggest concern now is what features on the front page of the Business Daily. How exactly will this 4.8 trillion shilling budget be funded? Part of that is through the Finance Bill 2026, which has some proposals that we've been asking you about, majorly on the 5% proposed tax on mitumba and a 25% tax on mobile phones. If you take a look at the story on the Business Daily, it talks about tax pain as Treasury eyes 201 billion shillings in new budget. So it talks about how much the Finance Bill of 2026 is looking to get so that it can fund part of the 4.8 trillion shilling budget. This is a conversation we're starting with my panelists this morning. On my immediate right, back on this panel after a bit of a break, that's Professor Fred Ogolla, who is an economics and governance expert. Karibu sana, Professor.
Thank you very much, Fred.
Next to Bwana Ogolla, we do have Wilson Sosion, Mwalimu Wilson Sosion, who is an educationist and unionist, and also a former member of the National Assembly. Political risk analyst Dismas Mokua is with us this morning. Dismas, good morning. Karibu sana. You've not been on this forum for a while now. It's good to have you back.
Thank you. I've been on a sabbatical.
All right. Let's start with you, Dismas, because this discussion around the finance bill, and I think the level of awareness of the budget-making process and the finance bill as well has continued rising since 2024, when Gen Zs came up and opposed some of the provisions or proposals contained in the finance bill of that year. Now, it would appear that there are things in the finance bill which are necessary, but the level of discussion or discourse on the streets, even Gen Zs, we're not seeing it at the same level that we saw it in 2024. Why do you think that is?
Well, thanks for the opportunity, and I'm happy to be in the company of Sosion and the presidential aspirant. So I'm looking forward to a very solid conversation. Now, in the past, when we've been making our budgets in Kenya, in a good part, it's been a ceremonial process. And majority of the citizens have not had the opportunity to engage with it till the last minute. But when the Gen Zs went to the streets and they got support, overwhelming support from the entire nation, then people started paying attention. And it appears to me that the policymakers right now, they know, and they're well advised not to come up with what would appear to be very obscene proposals. You remember last time, the chairman of the Finance Committee, he went on a TV station to discuss some tax around, when you're driving your vehicle around town, that you need to pay a lot more tax. And he made the proposal in a very obscene manner, in a very condescending way. And then at the same time, you had some members of the Kenya Kwanza administration flaunting their wealth and assets, almost vomiting on our shoes. As you remember, the former British High Commissioner said that some of these are public servants. And there's no evidence that they've been generating wealth or creating employment opportunities. But as soon as they get into elective positions, overnight they become millionaires or billionaires, and then they start flaunting their assets. You know, that is part of the reason why people are very bitter and they went to the streets. But this time round, the people at the National Treasury, they know that if you come up with obscene proposals, again, you can trigger demonstrations. That is why they've been very, very careful. To the extent that the only thing we are discussing now is 5% on mitumba and 25% on mobile phones. And in my view, even before you have a conversation about increasing taxation on mitumba, you need to give us alternatives, because there's so many people who depend on the mitumba. So even before you put the 5% tax, you need to create a certain environment so that Kenyans can afford, so that Kenyans now have got an option, either buying the mitumba or getting the locally used ones, even for the mobile phones. But I understand that there are a number of Kenyan manufacturers who are making mobile phones, and I hope that they're not subject to these 25%, so that we can start using our own internal resources. You know, in many countries in East Africa, including Rwanda, they have no time for mitumba. So they force the local industries to grow. And one expects that with the 25% on mobile phones, the local industries would grow. And the presidential aspirant will tell you that anytime you are buying mitumba, you're creating opportunities elsewhere. Anytime you're buying these mobile phones, the top of the range mobile phones, without giving out the brands, you are creating opportunities elsewhere. So for me, in my view, this is a very good thing. Let Kenyans have a conversation right now instead of coming at the tail end. But again, another unique aspect around the broad-based administration is about equity and equality in resource allocation. Because of a gentleman called Tom Boyer, who came up with the session paper number 10, you remember initially they said they were going to invest resources in areas which were described as productive. But that was a euphemism. The resources were going to be invested in areas where political leaders at that time came from. You know, right now, when President Ruto said that SGR is going all the way to Western Kenya, a number of prominent Kenyans did not know the difference between Malaba and Malava. And people were asking, where does Western Kenya need a railway line? Of what impact is it going to be? Why do you need a road to Western Kenya? Now, some of us who come from Western Kenya have been marginalized for a very long time.
Okay.
And if we go granular, and I hope that you are not going to be attracting libel or slander, if I challenge anybody among the panelists to name the top 3 hospitals in Kenya, where are they located?
All right.
Top 3 boys' schools in Kenya, where are they located? Top 3 girls' schools in Kenya, where are they located? That is why you have to give the Kenya Kwanza administration credit on the equity and equality in resource allocation. And that is a component which cannot miss in this conversation.
Right. Thank you for that and for beginning that conversation from that point. Bwana Sosion, of course, there's a necessity to increase taxes, because even the revenue collected by KRA falls short of even the 3 trillion shilling mark. So if we are talking about 4.8 trillion, which has a potential of, by the end of the year, crossing the 5 trillion shilling mark, then there's definitely need to increase the level of revenue collection. The discussion has always been about widening the tax base. Do you think that finally taxing the mitumba industry could bring in the informal settlement into enabling KRA get to that level?
We look at the whole process of budget making and finance bill and taxation. Let's look at it more objectively and not in isolation, but we look at the whole ecosystem, including the government master plan and the future of our economy. We are a middle-income country, and we are striving to the first world. That's a fact. And Kenya has a potentiality. This is superpower economy in the region. The Kenya National Bureau of Statistics places it now, we are third in the sub-Saharan after South Africa and Nigeria. That's good news, and they're all potentialities. Now, the budget, the 4.8 trillion, if you look at the MTPF planning, the budget of the country will keep growing, and sooner we will cross the 5 trillion mark. And all those resources must be raised domestically and raised in a manner that does not stifle the citizens' ability to access goods and services, while at the same time, the tax regime should promote the manufacturing sector of the economy. That's a fact. If you look at the Kenya Kwanza administration plan, it is tailored to promote domestic manufacturing. And that is why even when such questions come in, when such taxes come in, Kenyans should ask very hard questions, and we should think out of the box. The Kenyan economy was destroyed through importation of counterfeit goods during Moi era, and it has persisted over time. There are cartels who make money out of it. Cheap sugar destroyed the sugarcane industry, and it destroyed our farmers. And Kenya is an agro-based economy. The backbone of the economy and most households is actually agriculture. So if you kill the sugarcane, then you are simply taking poverty to the doorsteps of sugarcane farmers. Cheap maize imports destroyed the maize industry. Even milk, we started importing milk to kill the dairy industries. KCC, which was a Kenya farmers-owned cooperative to process and protect the dairy industry, was undermined by private investors. And so the industry, even up to now, is still limping. The cotton farmers, Kenya was a cotton agro-based country. And we had many domestic manufacturing in the textile industry, Kikomi, Rivertex. Those were domestic. And it was killed by the flooding of the country with mitumba. That's a fact. We can argue about the benefits, but then we should look at the long-term destruction that it has brought to the country. That is what I can speak about, my own opinion. And if we're talking about being a free and independent country, we must be able to generate our own raw materials, manufacture our own goods, including textiles, that Kenyans can still access. And so some of these counterfeit goods from outside undermine domestic growth. And so if applying taxes in those particular goods is a measure that will eventually wipe, we cannot stay with mitumba forever. We can't.
But we've seen previous attempts to control mitumba. They've never worked.
No,
do you feel that this one now will be able to do that?
It has to be done in a manner that is good for the country. And that which, if we have to phase it out, it will be phased out. If we are talking about promoting even telephone manufacturing within the country, or if you want to promote goods that are being manufactured from within the country, then you have to impose taxes for those that which are imported.
Okay.
And that is a fiscal strategy on the same. So that then I think it is good for Kenyans, by and large, looking at the process of budgeting and the finance bill. There are two bills. There is the appropriation bill, which is a budget, and that has gone through a rigorous process from August last year, when the state departments met, the working parties within the ministries, and the proposals in October, and it has gone through all that rigorous process, and now it's projected, it is no doubt, it is going to be 4.8 trillion. So the appropriation bill is then going through public participation. Now Parliament is on recess to do the same, and they will conclude that process in June. But then, to make it work, you need the finance bill.
Yes.
But
according to this paper,
and this bill will aid in raising the revenue to finance the 4.8 trillion. So the proposals therein are not cast in stone.
Yes.
In both the bills.
Let's bring the professor into this conversation. So Kenya Revenue Authority, and I'm reading straight from the Business Daily, which is a major business outlet and as far as news is concerned, the Kenya Revenue Authority will be required to collect 2.985 trillion shillings by July next year. Yeah. It's against a budget of 4.8 trillion shillings. But then they say the Finance Bill 2026 is expected to deliver most of the revenue howl, with the Treasury projecting new tax measures to generate 120 billion shillings. Is it enough? We may talk about the finance bill, we may talk about that 5% mitumba, we may talk about protecting local industry, 25% on mobile phones, but do you think this is enough? Because it still leaves a hole of close to 1.4 trillion shillings that we have to plug.
Yeah, Fred, as an economist, I would say that the economy is pretty simple to run if you are an honest person and if you're a competent person. I actually like how kids can be very honest. I wish that we can go back there when Jesus says, let kids come to me, because kids are very honest. We are too mature even to be honest. This is dishonesty, what you're reading there, and I'll like to explain to you very simple. I want to begin with a just simple story about a kid. There's a time I took my son to Ugenya and I bought for him a bouncing castle, and I told him that any kid that comes to play here should be able to give you like 10 shillings just to make him realize that things are not free or so. Then another elderly guy who was like 12 years, 14 years came and told him, can I come and play? Tomorrow I'll bring for you 10 other bouncing castles. Then my son asked him that if you can afford 10 bouncing castles, why do you come to one? Mm-hmm. You see, that's a very honest conversation. You could have said, oh, you can bring 10. Come, because you're already corrupted. So what I'm trying to say in short here is that these things are pretty simple. Economy is the following. What is the input? Then what are the outputs? What are the outcomes? And what's the impact and the process? Simple. If you do not obey input, you don't obey the rules of outputs, you don't obey the rules of outcomes, and then impact. What is the impact? Impact should be seen at the household. Like, for example, Fred, as an economist, I know that we have 12,500,000 households in the country. Whatever you're doing here as a head of state, you have to know that State House is a house of the state, meaning that represents all the houses in Kenya. All the households in Kenya are under State House. So when you're making a decision as a head of state, living in State House, you are making decision in the house of houses. How are the household making sense? So if you look at this taxation, this being produced, that's the impact. Kenyans spend 63,000 shillings a year on average per child in education. Average household, it says that every household has like 4 children per household. So how does that affect expenditure in education? How does it affect healthcare? So without taking you further, let me just explain to you why this is completely misnomers. Since I was born, I think Fred also, and even Sosion and Dismas, you hear all these things always. When the budget is coming, it's about how much you need to tax. Kenya relies on production. The future of Kenya is on production, not on perpetual taxation. And this budget, is it going to produce anything? Even you talk about you want now to tax the Mutumba clothes. And every time I hear these things, I feel like crying, Fred, because I remember the late Raila Odinga. His manifesto, I'm the one who wrote, it was read in Nyayo, if you remember. And Raila, after reading the speech, says he wants Kenyans to produce clothes. He does not want, he wants to ban mitumba. And his tongue slipped and said, "Hatuwezi vaa nguo ya maiti." The current president ran immediately to Njogo Road and told the people of Mitumba how Raila is finishing them. And I think that has an impact in election, because there are around 2 million Kenyans who depend on the Mitumba business. And I think they don't know that. And that's why that tax they are talking about, the 5% on Mitumba, will affect 2 million to 3 million people directly. Now the question is not about taxing or not taxing. The question is, what's the alternative? if they were producing clothes, for example, they are put factories to produce first-hand clothes, then you can now say, let me tax this one so that this can work. At the same time, Fred, we believe on liberal democratic party.
So you don't believe in taxation to protect local industry? You're saying there's no local industry already.
Let me tell you, there's no, where is it? Who is going to produce those clothes? Which, because they kill Kikomi, Rivertex, isn't it? And that's why, as LDP presidential candidate, Liberal Democratic Party, we believe on a liberal economy. We need to make the economy so much competitive that there's no need of importing for us Mitumba clothes here.
So there are three things here, Professor. There's one, widening the tax base, that Mitumba people operating Mitumba were not paying tax in the formal way. Secondly, protecting the local industry. And thirdly, just covering the fiscal gap, collecting revenue.
Let me explain to you.
So which of the three is Treasury going for? You're saying let's eliminate protection of local industry. There's no local industry.
Yes. So what I'm trying to say, I've told you that when you are not honest, there's dishonesty and incompetence in that proposal, because it cannot give you what you're looking at. Forget about even this one, Mitumba. Eggs get manufactured in Uganda, isn't it? They pass through the customs in Busia, border, Malava, and they reach here, and they are cheaper than Kenya. We need to make eggs, our production, so competitive. Have you heard US telling you that they are putting tax in Mutumba? Did you see such a thing? Like, can China even try to waste their time on that? Why don't we build a competitively productive economy that it does not matter? But if we are putting money, for example, for every dollar or for every shilling we collect, 70 shillings goes to paying debt.
Okay.
And that debt has not helped to do anything that makes us productive. It doesn't work. So, in short, Fred, what I can advise, because I'm not here to bash them, I wanted to repeat that as LD presidential candidate, why is LDP? Liberal Democratic Party. Liberalism means a liberal economy or free market. And why we are proposing, what we are proposing is to create 100,000 jobs per county. That translates to 4.7 million jobs nationally. You bring those 4.7 million people to the tax bracket, and then they help lift the load from all taxation. And they're going to be giving these jobs for production. We will put money on agricultural production, in value addition. And when you give these jobs to the people, do you know that immediately that's what we call a silver bullet to solve the Kenyan problem completely? How? By giving 4.7 million jobs to everybody, that means that you kill the youth unemployment. Secondly, the debt will be down because you don't have to borrow because you're producing. Three, interest rate will go down because when there's money in the economy, risks go down, risk is priced low, and therefore interest rates go down.
Okay.
And then inflation also go down because when you're producing, the supply-demand forces allows you to be able to reduce inflation. And then fuel will go down because when you are again having the strength of the dollar, because when the dollar, the Kenya shillings will go down and the shilling strengthens, we buy fuel in dollars. So I'm telling you, if
the thinking is wrong according to you.
If the one thing, Fred, there's a book called The One Thing. The one thing that I will do as a presidential candidate is simply that. As a president.
Okay.
And in fact, what we are doing, we are not going to wait for them to get into office. We have begun.
Okay.
We are mobilizing money to begin doing this work. And the direction, Fred, is...
And I get you, Prof. But
to do that one thing.
My concern is the reasoning behind this push.
It's flawed.
Dismas. What do you think it is? Is it simply because there's pressure to finance a budget that is already bloated? Because 4.8 trillion shillings was not what we had as a budget last year. If we cannot afford it, why go for it? Many people will ask. 2.985 is what we collect as revenues, what is anticipated. This finance bill is seeking to plug a deficit already. Is that the main reason? Should we forget about the justification being given about widening the tax base or even trying to protect or promote local manufacturing?
Well, contrary to popular belief, this budget is not a State House budget. This is actually a people's budget, and it goes through a very elaborate circle, and there is public participation. In fact, any Kenyan who wants to engage in participation, you've got the opportunity. from the time the proposals come from the cabinet, they go to the National Treasury, they go to Bunge. There are million sessions. Every single day I see the two clerks of the National Assembly and Senate inviting people to give opinions. So you're supposed to be very proactive, very deliberate, and very intentional in making your opinions known. And then number two, to make Kenya very competitive, and the professor has spoken about it, is we must address the cost of production. In my view, one of our biggest challenges is the cost of production in Kenya. Like, for instance, if you're talking about the reason why the cost of eggs in Uganda is, the cost of producing eggs in Uganda is much lower than Kenya, is because of the cost of feeds. And you know, the entire of Uganda is green. In Kenya, it's about 20%, which is green. Again, which would open a Pandora's box, because many parts of northern Kenya, Wajir, Garissa, those places are ripe for massive irrigation. You have other countries in the world, in the Middle East, that are engaged in massive beef farming, not because they depend on rainwater, but because the leadership has been very innovative. So at some stage...
Even dairy.
Yeah, even dairy, yeah. Even at some stage, we are going to be asking governors from these parts that since agriculture is a matter of devolution, what have you been doing with your resources? Because a rational Kenyan cannot understand why Israel or Saudi Arabia, they've got farms, green farms, they've got cows, they've got lamb, they've got all these kind of things, and in Kenya, we cannot do that. In the middle of our desert, we cannot do that. Now, on the issue of KRA, it's only fair that we've got a predictable tax administration, and then everybody pays their bit of share. You know, right now, the people in formal employment have been burdened. So for me, it's only fair that you come up with these procedures and systems that ensure everybody gets to pay their taxes. Now, a gentleman who became very popular, and at some stage was very popular, called Donald Trump, has been issuing tariffs, throwing them left, right, and center, saying that I must protect my economy. Mm-hmm. However, you can only protect what does exist, or you can only protect after you are given incentives. So it's incumbent on the administration to make sure that the cotton...
In your opinion, have they done that? Well, especially for the manufacturing textile industry?
Well, I've not seen very tangible proposals. However, for very prudent business people, business and corporate leaders, they can see that if there's going to be this 5%, how will it affect the cost? And then they start offering alternatives. For, again, visionary business people in Kenya, when they see this 25%, they must quickly look at the mobile phone manufacturers from all over the world and tell them to set up a base in Nairobi. You remember that is what Donald Trump told people from Japan and South Korea, even from China, that you've got a big, the way he says, you've got a big, beautiful market in America. But if you want to sell in America, I want to see those plants here in America. Now, that is what you expect our people from the private sector to do, to be very innovative.
So you also agree out of the three reasons why to increase taxation on Mitumba mobile phones, the one on promoting or protecting local industries does not really count this time around. The industries are non-existent. As a prof...
well, you know, we spoke...
so it's about widening the tax base and raising revenue.
Yes, and you know, Mwalimu also spoke about...
even that doesn't
if you're looking for Kikomi, you will not find this. If you're looking for Rivertex, you will not find this. But there's an opportunity to promote it. And you know, as scholars and practitioners say, there is no silver bullet. I mean, if you believe in a lot of these economic theories, this thing is like a switch. You press red or you press red or black. But you know, it's it's a gradual process.
No. Okay.
That's very clear.
I'll come back to you, Prof.
And then another thing, because this thing you can't look at is in isolation. Also, you must proactively promote Kenya as an FDI destination, so that you get now those international investors are coming to Kenya. Mm-hmm. Earlier on, when I came in, you were making utani about our jirani, about Tanzania, but I followed with a lot of interest President Ruto's trip to Tanzania. One of the key things that grabbed my attention is that a Kenyan-owned bank, Kenya Commercial Bank, has actually supported Tanzanian investors to come and do business. The Amsons, these kind of people who are bringing a lot of resources. If I remember the figures from the top of my head, they've brought about 360 million US dollars. Now, when you bring those kind of resources in Kenya, you are creating jobs in Kenya.
Yes, and I think that's the best discussion to have, because even Mwalimu Sosion, if you listen to Prof, he asked a question about, okay, fine, the budget is 4.8 trillion shillings, but what is it producing? There was a paper yesterday that talked about how out of the 4.8 trillion shillings, even close to half is going to debt repayment. A budget that big should have promoted or should seek to promote manufacturing or production so that it can be able to fund itself as we go on. But do you think that, as Dismas says, we're groping in the dark? We're just spending money and increasing our budget annually.
If we think of growing our economy and we get so much fixated on the national budget, we will get it wrong, because
but what should we be looking at?
The national budget majorly deals with delivery of services to the people, mainly recurrent. Really, not much goes to development, and that is why when you look at the master plan outside budgets of reforming the economy, which the Asian tigers and other economies have done, we've got to get out of non-reliance on donor funding, the IMF, the World Bank, and also we can't rely on taxes. It will take us 200 years to do that. So that is another dimension and a story for another time. But then looking at the budget, the taxes ecosystem within the economy itself in terms of incentivization, that is something that Professor has said, and I think it's so profound. And I've said Kenya is an agro-based economy. The backbone of this economy is agriculture. And if we are thinking about promoting manufacturing, first of all, we begin in the agriculture sector, the value chains, the value addition, the manufacturing. And we cannot run away from cotton. Mm-hmm. And I would like to talk more about cotton and even manufacturing. The budget process must provide incentives.
Which comes before which one? Cotton industry is dead in Kenya. We've had this discussion for a while now.
It died, and it was killed by importation of counterfeit goods, and it was killed by cartels who in the economy would like to make quick money. And we have had cartels everywhere. I've indicated in sugar everywhere. We can go on. It's a fact, and it's time we get rid of these cartels. And so from the point of Professor here, does it mean now we are going to sit back? Professor has raised that then there must be alternatives. If we are imposing heavy taxation on mitumba and hope it is going to grow with time, as therefore we eliminate mitumba, we must offer choices to Kenyans, mm-hmm. and choices that are comfortable. And those choices will flow from promotion of manufacturing sector. And I think that is the key agenda of Kenya Kwanza administration. And you know, factories...
Do you see that in this budget?
And you know what?
Do you see that in this budget?
Factories are not going to mushroom overnight. It is a process of negotiating with investors. It is a process of putting incentives. One way of putting incentives is even dealing with the negative competitors like the mitumba. And when Raila said, atuwesiva mitumba ya maiti, you know, Raila was talking very clearly about why do we bring textile from outside when our own farmers can grow BT cotton,
but you went after him.
And we process. No, let's leave politics out of this. The problem is that we discuss very serious issues and we bring in a tinge of dirty politics to dilute it. The thing is, it is noble, and Kenya Kwanza administration has been promoting the BT cotton farming among farmers across Kenya. And I think it is time the cotton farmers are assisted to go back to their farms. Mm-hmm. The ginneries are allowed to work. Kikomi should come back to life. Rivertech should come back to life, and other textile manufacturers, so that we have a textile industry that is robust in the country, and that which can eliminate the mitumba.
Okay.
If you look at the headline, Kenyans can have choice.
Yes. If you look at the headline on the front page of the Star, it talks about this being President William Ruto's election budget.
Yeah.
Meaning that probably the next budget, he may not have so much control over it. By the time the financial year starts, it's a month to elections. Do you agree that some of the proposals here really have to be consequential? in as far as the kind of promises the president made?
No, Fred, let me tell you first of all that many people of middle class like me and you and these people have not understood whom the president is. I don't see any budget there that is more of an election budget. And I want to explain to you why. First of all, why do you think that they are not putting money on production? It is easier to make money available for corruption in the consumption side of the economy than on production. Let's say, for example, the president says, I'll put 1 trillion on agriculture in Mount Kenya and Rift Valley. When you're giving farmers those things, it's difficult to get money from them in corruption. But it is easier to import these things in high quantities and first of all make deals with people who are importing, and also secondly lose that money through that side. I think you know what I'm trying to say. So when you look at this budget, the president is looking for how can he get the money and buy people, because that is his style. And he did it before. He's not concerned about putting money on how the economy can grow. But he's concerned about if he gets money to access, because this money mostly is going to be stolen, then after stealing the money, you'll use this money now to buy people, because he knows that the people will vote for him. Once you give them 500 shillings, 100 bob, they'll vote for you. But the economy is suffering. The main reason why the economy is suffering is huge corruption, Fred. And I've gone public. I took a paper in the Senate, and I explained that under the first president, Kenyatta, we lost 250 billion to corruption. The second president, for 24 years, we lost 1.2 trillion to corruption. The third president, Mwai Kibaki, we lost 610 billion in 10 years. Under Uhuru, we lost 608 billion to corruption. The sitting president has taken in corruption of losing 3.7 trillion in 3 years, which means he's stealing with a spoon. And because of that, it becomes a serious thing. So without trying to blame them, let me address why I'm told you there's incompetence in the budget. And to tell you in numbers, Uhuru Kenyatta budget was, the last budget was 3.1 trillion. His budget is now 4.9 trillion, isn't it? That is a 63% increase in budget, isn't it? And don't call budget, now call it expenditure, because the expenditure has grown by 63%. Revenue is growing at 4.8%. Fred, if you are selling a kibanda and your kibanda business, your costs are growing at 63%, while your revenue is growing at 4.8%. Are you in business? So I'm telling you, this country is being run with the highest level of incompetence and impunity. Because any economist, I respect Badi to being the CS there. I've been told they're a team of experts. But my brother Badi, it does not make sense to me. Because you are an economist, you say you know that, isn't it? You came in because you said Kenya Kwanza was managing the economy. This is what you call true mismanagement. I go back and tell my brother the issue of the silver bullet. There is silver bullet in economics. I was an economist for European Central Bank. We turned around Greece, Spain, Portugal, and Italy with a silver bullet. And let me come home, because you'll say I'm talking about the West. Kibaki sat on a wheelchair and said, free primary education, that was a silver bullet. You know that? Mm-hmm. Because when immediately you say education was free, I saw some of my friends in the bank who resigned to set up a business to supply pens and stationery because there was booming economy. And when they did that, you could see when I tell you, you spend 28,000 a year on school fees for primary, then I say it is free. You have 28,000 shillings per year, even to set up a business, to do any other thing, or to buy other products. Then in taxation, you can actually get your money back. So I would not agree when he tells me that there is, I'm an economist, it happens. Okay. And then when you talk about the issue of the deficit, the previous budget, KRA was supposed to collect 2.1 trillion from taxation. They did not meet the targets. They did not meet target by, they fell short of 815 billion shillings. And it's because of the minimum by saying, when you tax more, you collect more. It doesn't happen. Because the sweet spot in taxation, everybody will pay tax when the taxation is 0%. Can you believe? If everybody will pay taxes if taxation is 0%. Anytime the taxation goes up, you get me, less people are paying. More than 52 companies which are listed with the register of companies are paying their taxes.
Okay.
So even without going, why do you start with Mama Mboga in Mutumba business when companies registered with employees, those Mutumba business in Gikomba, the ones in Toys Market, yes. They are not even registered.
And we're not saying that the finance bill is only about Mitumba. There could be there are definitely other proposals that we've just pointed the highlights.
Let me go to phones. Yeah. The phone penetration in Kenya is 163%, meaning that every Kenyan, I'm sure this man has like 3 phones. My brother here has like 4, isn't it? Me, I have 1 because I don't know how to handle 2 wives. Me, I only know how to handle 1. But many Kenyans have more than 1 SIM cards or 2 phones. Why are they imposing this one? Because they're looking for how they can get money quickly from people, because every Kenyan, even if you're poor, you have a phone. Okay. So this is about going after where they can get more money
for the
people for the election. Okay. And not that they are improving the economy.
And final word on this, and I want you to comment about this being an election budget for William.
Fred, let me just finish
Fred, you requested us to have a very solid conversation around the economics, around the tax and the budget, and avoid
it to the elections.
Yeah, and then avoid introducing populist statements that cannot be backed, because you have to be fair to the people at home who are glued and who are watching this. Number one, the Kenyan Constitution is very clear and is very elaborate on the budget making process. Mwananchi, through the people's representatives at the National Assembly, has got the last word. And in the event that the representatives want to depart from the expectations of the citizens, then there's going to be another demonstration. So members of the National Assembly have learned that you must listen to what the people are saying when you're voting for those bills. When you're coming up with anything, it must be anchored in public participation, and in the absence of public participation, it must be citizen-centric. The average Kenyan today understands budget-making process. Earlier on, you said that a clever Kenyan has come up with an AI infrastructure of decoding policy making. I can bet my grandmother's cow somebody's coming up with AI infrastructure to decode this budget-making process. So there's nothing which is going to be done in the cover of darkness. Every single Kenyan has got an insurable interest in this budget-making process. And that is why in our deliberations, we shouldn't assume that Mura or Wanjiru or Nalima does not understand the budget-making process. They know it. So that we must separate facts and emotions. We can introduce emotions during the campaign, like when Raila Odinga says that, we are not going to put on maybe Zongwezo Zingine. You can introduce emotions to win an election, but facts are facts and emotions are emotions. Now, we have said this thing times above number, that if you want to grow Kenya's economy, if you want to reduce the tax component, is do these 3 things. Number 1, position Kenya as an FDI destination, and I'll become a disciple for that. I'll go to the top of Mount Kenya or Kilimanjaro and discuss it, and that is why these international trips that the president has been making with Musalia Mudavadi, the economic and commercial diplomacy are very key, because you need to flood Kenyans with investors. Like, for instance, if you talk about the 25% on mobile telephony, there are people seated with truckloads of money who will say, if you're going to have the 25% on imported stuff to Kenya, why can't I go to Kenya and set up a facility? We've said times above number, one of the things the way Morocco excels is it's positioned itself as a hub for aviation. All the major aircraft equipment manufacturers have taken a position that you can use Morocco as a hub. I keep on wondering every single day, how come the leadership of around Nanyuki, where you've got a lot of military bases, you've got a lot of ports, people with a lot of helicopters and planes, how come the leadership around that region is not positioned in that place so that you attract people like Boeing, these equipment manufacturers, so that we even start servicing, these equipment from the region? Before he left office, President Kenyatta revamped the shipping factory in Mombasa, where we're supposed to be repairing. Why can't we, and Kisumu, why can't we even come up with a university where we have scholars and practitioners so that everybody from our region comes here? I come from Nyanza province. I wonder why to date we do not get fish from Lake Victoria. Understand that fish from Lake Victoria is top of the range. How come we are not using the airport, the international airport in Kisumu, to transport that fish? This morning it should be landing in the European Union, in Britain, for the British housewife to go and buy that. And you know it can be done because we've got a company called Homegrown. They harvest greens, vegetables, and this morning they land in those markets. So instead of sitting here, we cross our legs and whine till the cows come home. Kenyans don't expect us just to be grumbling.
I want
we are supposed to be
final words
solutions
on this suggestion that this is an election budget. Mwalimu.
No, I think those are your own views.
No. I'm just asking about this headline here. I'm not reading anything. Inside Ruto's 4.8 trillion shilling 2027 election budget.
It is still somebody's headline, and somebody's opinion, which is a right in Kenya. But I think it is good we tell Kenyans the truth. And Kenyan constitution, in terms of budget making process, public expenditure and accountability, rests with the people. And the preamble of the constitution says we the people. The sovereign power belongs to the people. If you look at the budget making process, even the executive doesn't come in so quickly, except where the president in the end appends the signature to the appropriation bill and appends the signature to the finance bill. The rest is an open public process that commences in the month of August with the sector working groups, because programs are domiciled, programs of expenditures are domiciled in the different sectors within the state departments. And then the process is open. And so this is a people's driven budget, which has no connection whatsoever with the political activities of the day, including elections. The budget process will go on, it will be executed, and I can tell you, in 2027, it's an election year, the sector-wide working groups will still commence their work of processing the budget in the month of August. So this has no connection whatsoever. Let us divorce, so that our economy should be people-driven. This is a people-driven economy. The political systems come in only to ground the policy. And the policies that will affect this budget, even up to 2027, is contained in the manifesto of
hence the
Kenya Kwanza. So it started in 2022, and the programs are ongoing.
Because of time, I just
trying
the final word. We need to discuss something else.
We normally say even resolutions are never forced. So trying to force this budget to have some connection with politics is actually fundamental. Let us apply our minds, and as we are talking about, this is a potential economy. It's a competitive economy. What is it that Kenyans can discuss about this budget-making process, the taxation, in relation to promoting domestic manufacturing, in promoting
this
production?
Is President William Ruto's fourth budget.
So that Kenyans, so that the poverty index can come down in the country.
It would be foolhardy to divorce this from his political ambitions as well, because he has a manifesto and promises to deliver. How does he tie this? I know what you said earlier, but how possible is it that he could use this budget to ensure that some of what he promised is actually delivered in the next few months or so?
This budget is not meant to fulfill his promises, because since he took office, there's even someone with a website putting one by one what he promised and what he has not done. And I think they are 13%. Whatever the promises he has made, according to that website, he's made 13%, and those 13% are more political than economic. We are told about widening the tax base. It's not widened. We are told about lifting people from bottom up. They have not been lifted. He said that NHIF, he'll pay for people. He hasn't paid. So I don't think that it's wise to spend time trying to judge him. But what I want to ask Kenyans, look for how this budget can work for you, whether you are a teacher, don't have to judge whether it's political or not, because actually it is not going to deliver anything. Like I look at it here, this is an extractivist budget. You can see money to the grassroots. Elders will be paid 3,000 shillings per month, and that will be a stipend that will take the money like 3.96 billion from the budget. Now, what I would ask saying, these elders' problems is their children. And I want to tell Kenyans, as someone who is vying for the president of this country, if you solve your son's problem, I've solved my problem. Like if your son is going to work, he can get a job. Through production economy, you solve everybody's problem. But if you solve all elders' problem alone, you leave their children vulnerable, you leave their wives vulnerable. And I want to urge the president that you still have a chance to show that there can be a change. The first budget looks similar to this. The second budget looks similar to this. The third and now the fourth budget looks just the same. I don't think there's been a change in this thing. And I want to end by saying that the Uhuru budget looks very similar to this budget also. I think these guys are still in Jubilee. Not even in Kenya Kwanza budget. Because no. I'm an economist. I'm just looking at how the budget's being done.
Okay.
He said we are moving from consumption economy to production economy.
Okay.
You look at the fundamental, that thing doesn't go there. We've been talking about what we call conditional debts. Conditional debts is a debt you take when you are in trouble. But there's a proactive debt. A debt you take to build something, to help you secure something. They have not moved there. So as far as I'm concerned, Kenyans, this is what it is. Look for how, whatever it is, you can survive with this budget. But when LDP forms the government, you'll see a shift in this budget.
All right. And I can see one of our viewers, Ndongo Wainaina, is asking, where are estimates of revenue for the proposed financial year 2026-2027 budget? Estimates of revenue are constitutional requirements. Finance bill is not the estimates of revenue. Yes, indeed, we do agree it is not. We're just discussing some of the proposals contained inside the finance bill that are seeking to finance part of this budget. The estimates, according to the estimates of revenue, according to the Business Daily, they say KRA will be required to collect 2.985 trillion shillings. So the revenue, ilitatoka KRA 2.89. Some of it away from what KRA will collect that way. Of course, this finance bill must be part of that. Or provisions within the finance bill must be part of that. And according to this paper, they say the finance bill is expected to deliver most of the revenue haul, with Treasury projecting new tax measures to generate 120 billion shillings, up from 30 billion in the previous
That's
year.
why the president being nicknamed Zakayo.
And that 120, which is new, comes from, among others, and let's make it clear that there are other proposals in the finance bill that we've not talked about. Just talked about 5% mitumba, 25% mobile phone taxation. Let's get it clear. Asante sana Ndongo Wainaina for watching. All right, because of time, allow us to talk some politics. It would be unfair because quite a number of people watch this show for politics. and yes, we've spent quite some time discussing the budget, which is also quite key in our discussions. Let's talk about the season of migration. And if you look at the cartoons today, out of the 4 cartoons that we sampled, 2 of them, that's 50% of them, are talking about one thing, Irungu Kangata. So one cartoon on the Star has a caricature of, and if my director could help me with this, has a caricature of the Murang'a governor, caricatured as a wildebeest migrating from one side to the other. And he says, Kangata kicks off this season's political migration. This comes from the statement he made last week when the president was in his county, curiously so. He comes out and says, now I'm in UDA currently, but next year I won't be. It's the same story on the cartoon on the Daily Nation, which has Kangata caricatured in a green shirt. I don't know green signifying which party. But he talks about what's happening in ODM, where there's a crack. The person who's supposed to be the SG insists he's still the SG, but he's talking a different language. And he says, unlike them, I am in, but really out. So let's start from there. It is a season of migration, but there's a lot of hesitation to actually cross the line. And this is across board. No one is coming out really to say, okay, fine, mimi nimeondoka, nimeinua mikono, I've gone to the other side. There are a lot of UDA rebel members who are no longer talking about UDA. There are people in ODM who are no longer believe in what ODM stands for after Raila's death, but they're still in ODM. is this the season where we see the typical Kenyan politician who's totally disingenuous about where they stand?
Well, it goes back to whether or not, in fact, Kenya has political parties. And in theory, you have political parties. They're required to have an ideology. They're supposed to have a certain number of offices across the nation. You know, the political parties liaison committee has got up about 92 members. So in theory, you have 92 proactive political parties. But as we've said times above number, in fact, Kenya, we don't have political parties. We have special purpose vehicles created by politicians with political capital and financial resources. So if you've got financial resources and you've got political capital, you can get a party registered today, or you can go to the market. There are people right now in the marketplace who are selling political parties that you can go buy and customize. That is why when you say that there are people within ODM who are lost because Mr. Raila Odinga is not around, it's a statement of fact, because they were not loyal to ODM. They were loyal to Mr. Raila Odinga. And you can go back to Kanu. People were in Kanu then because of President Moi. People joined PNU because of President Kibaki. People joined Jubilee because of President Kenyatta. If really we had very strong political parties, we'd be having the case of the UK. You know, you have your Labour, Conservatives, or the US, the Republicans and Democrats, where parties would stay because of particular ideals. If you go through all the political parties' manifestos, it's probably the same thing. And there's a record which says, in fact, the first manifesto in Kenya was crafted by Professor Anyang' Nyong'o and company. So what did these other political parties do? They just get the soft copy and they change a few things. So like, for instance, if you look at all the political parties, they don't have so unique positions about maybe coffee or tea or abortion, you know, pro-life, all these kind of things. The same thing, apart from Kenya Kwanza, which last year they went through all the counties and they got information. So it would be interesting to see a professor's political party, whether it's any different, whether they've got a manifesto, whether they've got an ideology that can take Kenya to the next level. Now, when you're talking about Irungu Kang'ata, in my view, he's a very prudent politician, and he's somebody who is in touch with the reality. You remember during the last administration, he had a leadership role at the Senate, but when he got in touch with his people, when he looked at the crystal ball, he said, hapa hivi kuna vile ground imechange. I must align or realign, I must recalibrate. And when he spoke to his party boss, I think the party boss, Rallies, he told him, young man, we know what we are doing, but see what happened. So if our President Ruto today, I would call Mr. Irungu Kang'ata, I would call Dr. Irungu Kang'ata and have a conversation with him and seek to understand where has he taken this move. And unlike other political leaders who change positions without making it public, I think it's an act of bravery for Dr. Irungu Kang'ata in a public forum to state that I'm going to be in UDA till elections, but at that stage, I'm going to review my options. And I wish anybody who is running for political office or anybody who is holding political office today would actually do that, so that we know where people stand. Okay. And then we know that these people are driving their selfish interests. But again, you cannot discuss Irungu Kang'ata without discussing Mr. Rigathi Gachagua. From people who understand Mount Kenyan politics, who've been following events with a lot of detail, they're really getting nauseated and intimidated by his brand of politics. He's introduced a brand of politics, and he may end up being worse than Mr. Raila Odinga. That if you do not kiss his ring, then he refers to you as a traitor. I mean, if you come from the Mulima part of Kenya, are you not allowed to hold your opinion? Why would you holding an opinion divergent from Mr. Rigathi Gachagua be branded as a traitor?
And I can see that line of thought, but I don't want us to go there. I just talking about the shifts that we're experiencing now, the hesitation to actually just declare. I know the requirement even for state officers is that 6 months before the election, you have to vacate your position so that you can declare political interests. But they are politicians, and this has continued over a while. Even those who formed the party UDA, many of them were still members of Jubilee and were still state officers, some of them. This may be considered bad manners in some areas, but it would appear we've normalized the same, that there's a lot of hesitation and a lot of disingenuity in a lot of politicians.
You know, let's appreciate that Kenyan pluralism of politics and multi-party process is still taking root. And then, unfortunately, the political parties tended to be more tribal-based, regional-based, and around election convenience, formation of coalitions which keep changing, and that technically has not allowed strong institution of political parties to stand the test of time and sustain itself for the longest. Maybe ODM has tried to survive for over 20 years, but you see, that is still linked to the leader. In the absence of the leader, we can see what is happening. The center cannot hold. But I think fundamentally speaking, a strong democracy is defined by strong institutions of political parties. And there would then be few. You know, when Kibaki took over and coined Vision 2030, he said we must have few but large and strong banks so that the economy can thrive. That was within the economic space. Also within the political party space, in working pluralistic democracy that is progressive, then we should also have few but large political parties. But in this circumstance, it cannot be forced. The Article 38 of the Constitution gives every citizen political rights, including migrating, including moving out of a political party, the way Kangata is doing. And the circumstances that informs that behavior can be so varied, including intimidation. Mm-hmm. When somebody feels intimidated and he thinks, if I change from this position to this position, I will survive my position. It's about personal survival, but not about beliefs, mm-hmm. not about the policies and philosophies that underpins a political party. It is good when institutions, when people make decisions based on beliefs that underpins a party, whether you win or you lose. It is important you do that. And I can say from my own view, Kenya is almost getting to that stage, that now even our politics are getting out of ethnic cocoons. It has...
You are a member of ODM. You were forced by circumstances to move to UDA.
I was not forced by circumstances. I was not forced by circumstances, but I had to go and contest in Bomet. Yeah, and
those are the circumstances I'm talking about.
Not necessarily. I couldn't have contested in ODM.
Why not?
Yeah, it is
Kenya.
Similar situation. Oh, of course.
So those are the circumstances I'm talking about.
Yeah. No, you see,
it's the same circumstances that are forcing people now to move.
In the political space, there's a language
that
called politics is local. Politics is local. And I've said
that Irungu Kangata finds it difficult to be in UDA.
And I've said for Kangata, the decision is taking is informed by many reasons
circumstances.
I can't talk about. But right. I would rather we would have political parties that are national and that are acceptable across board. Mm-hmm. When political parties are acceptable across board in all regions and everywhere, then you can contest.
How different is a
Others will continue seeing this migration before political parties mature and maintain equal presence across the country.
Ideal situation, yeah.
It's not an ideal. We must make ideal situation real.
Yes, Prof.
First of all, Fred, I'm sure we were with you last time when I was telling you that there's no political party, but I was forming one that will be a political party. And I'll tell you the beauty of LDP, the beauty. And I think there should be only one party in Kenya that has this beauty.
And it's LDP.
It's LDP. Why LDP? We amended the constitution because LDP was Baba's party. We amended the constitution of LDP, registered at ORPP, that LDP has two arms. One arm is fully administrative. There's a chair of LDP who is a technocrat. He's called Engineer Juma. He's not concerned about politics at all. We have the SG of the party, is an economist. It's run by the CEO, not even the executive director. The party leader is a CPA. And the party leader is not a candidate. Fred Ogola is the presidential aspirant for LDP. I am the political leader of the party, and I do not have to do administrative work. And there's no conflict of interest in these two arms. Do you know why there's a problem in ODM which cannot be solved in UDA? Sifuna is the SG of ODM. Sifuna signed all the certificates of all those people, even those who are fighting him. He signed them, even for Orengo. He signed them. He signed even the one for Mbadi. He signed even the one for Pio and I. For them to be what he signed those certificates. So the corruption which was in ODM, he can't say he was not part of it. Because he signed even for Raila Odinga. For Raila Odinga to run for president, Sifuna signed his certificate. So if there was anything wrong with ODM, they cannot begin now. They were even then. For us in LDP, our SG, as soon as he wants, I'm hearing he wants to run for governor of Nairobi, but I'm not yet clear. The day he declare, he have to resign as SG and run for that position. Do you know why?
How will you force him?
No, the constitution is clear. Because you see, why, Fred? If you are running for a governor of Nairobi, isn't it? And you're the one signing your own certificate, how can the other person contesting that seat be fair? Look, John Mbadi was the chairman of ODM, and he could not get the Homa Bay ticket. Do you know why? The SG was on the other side. You understand? Baba would give the SG instruction, give so and so the ticket. So that's what happened. And Mama Ida was for Gladys Wanga. Fairly so, because she promoted the women. And her desires have come to pass. Gladys Wanga became who she is because of Mama Ida. So you see that these parties, the party tickets are under somebody's bed. The checkbook is under somebody's bed. How can you run such party? Have you heard whereby monies are not easy to account for in different parties? So LDP, the fact that we separate the admin arm and the political arm, like LDP presidential aspirant, I deal with MCS, MPs, governors, senators, and I cannot determine how the certificate is signed. Even my nomination, I was called, I was interviewed. I passed the interview, I was nominated, and it will be ratified by Electoral College, and any other person who wants to contest in LDP will do. Secondly, as the political leader of the party, we have decided in LDP there will be no suckers in nomination, never. We will never take anybody through nomination because it will be shambolic, people die for nothing. If you want to run for MP or senator, any position in LDP, what you do is you approach the political leader.
Okay.
We give you one condition: register, prove that you are one.
Through the administrative.
Yes. Secondly, give us certain numbers of people registered in your area. And after that, you are vetted. After you have been vetted, that ticket is yours, no competition. Because we want a party which is ideologically driven, not vehicles. People are using political parties as a bus stage, but not as a home. For us, it is like LDP must be your ideological home, not a vehicle to achieve what
And that's a discussion we'll be having going forward this season, for the next 1 year at least, where people still hang on to their party positions, yet they believe in ideologies, or they believe that they should be. We've agreed there's no ideology in any party right now. They believe they should be elsewhere. And that was a signal by Irungu Kangata, the governor for Muranga. He said he's in UDA just until the elections, but definitely next year he'll have to dump that election vehicle. Well, allow me to thank my panelists this morning: Professor Fred Ogola, economics and governance expert; Wilson Sosion, an educationist, a unionist, and also a former member of the National Assembly; and Dismas Mokua, political risk analyst. Thank you for your time at TV47, and hope to have you soon so that we continue with this conversation. We just started it. But yes, indeed, the season of political migration has begun, and it's going to be a very interesting period before the next elections. After the break, talk matters technology, leveraging technology to scale opportunity and economic growth, and later on, how to lead in a relationship without being controlling. Wow, interesting topics. So do stand by here on TV47 Breakfast. My name is Fred Indimuli. Good morning.